supernatural actor arrested for murder, and I like lost my entire mind. Hello and welcome to Saving People Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where on Tuesdays we're teddy bear doctors.
Today we are pulling up to season 4 with episode 8, Wishful Thinking. I'm Sam and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him.
And I'm Elayna and my pronouns are she, they.
And today my question for my co-hosts is, what wish would you make if you had a chance to wish at the wishing well?
That's a...
Yeah, that one wasn't on the notes.
What would I wish for? I would wish for Destiel to actually become canon instead of fake canon. That's like only half real in our hearts.
Yes.
Damn.
I'd wish for Destiel to become whole canon. That's my joke answer.
Mood. That's okay. That's a good answer.
What about y'all?
Is this like this episode wish, or is this like a no strings attached
No
wish?
strings attached, no consequences.
Oh, well, wait. I mean, if it's no strings attached,
Whoa.
I'd probably wish for other things.
Okay, so Destiel isn't that important to you. Got it.
How dare you? I've never been so insulted in my life. Listen, I have fan art on my wall that
Within
someone
reach.
made of the fanfic that I wrote about Destiel,
I apologize. I take it back.
which is going to be my silly excuse to plug both Abigail and my fanfics that we did for the Deancast Big Bang. Y'all
There
should
we
read
go.
them. I'll link them in the show notes. They're really fun and they're very, very Destiel. So
I would wish for affordable housing across the board.
yes,
Everywhere.
Ooh.
After the struggles I've been through finding apartments. Yeah.
bro, absolutely.
Sam, what about you?
Man, there's like so many things. I feel like all the things that first come to mind are like fixing the world.
Yeah.
Things.
Like financial stability for everyone.
Yeah.
I want us to get
And,
to
like,
Star Trek
Let's get rid of, homophobia and shit.
and
Yeah.
racism, sexism, all of the above.
Yeah.
Get it all out of there.
Yeah. Capitalism.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we could do away with capitalism while we're at it.
We don't
Yeah.
have to
Might as
do
well.
much. It's on its way out. It's
I love how
burning in
big
front
picture
of us.
y'all both went with your answers. I'm so thrilled.
We try.
That's really good.
Well, now that you've met your hosts, it's time to catch you up. If you haven't watched Supernatural recently, here's what you've missed on the road so far. First up, Elayna is going to recap the show so far. Are you ready?
Go for it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Dean gets out of hell because of Cass, and Sam has been up to some really shady stuff with Ruby that we're not quite sure about yet, and Dean has a whole existential religious crisis, which honestly, same, and then he goes back in time, which probably doesn't make things any better, and then they deal with this like metamorphosizing Rougarou guy, which is really depressing, and then there's a monster movie, and then there's pumpkins, and Dean gets spirit sickness thing.
Yeah.
Knocked it out of the park.
Forgot some. I was like, crap. I have like 5 seconds left to get the last 4 episodes.
Hey, but you knocked it out. You did it.
Thank you.
Hit every important
I
aspect.
did my best,
That's all we ask for.
and that's why I love y'all. Okay, and now Sam is going to recap this week's episode. Are you ready? How you feeling?
I suppose.
That's the best answer you could get. I will count you in when you're ready.
All right. I think I am as ready as I'm going to be
Excellent.
for my favorite part of the show.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the brothers are in this town where all of a sudden wishes are coming true, and there's a giant teddy bear, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening, but obviously wishes don't come without strings attached. So, and then they figure it out and they save the day.
Perfect.
Magnificent.
Nailed it.
No notes. So now that we've recapped everything, it is time for us to pick some music to accompany us on our journey, because we are collecting songs to create a season 4 mixtape. So here is what we have this week. Noah, why don't you go first?
This week, I went with Why Worry by Set It Off. It's a fun little ditty that kind of focuses on, hey, if things are going to happen, why worry? If it's all going to happen anyway, we'll get there when we get there. don't cross bridges that don't exist yet. Take it step by step, day by day. Kind of how Dean comes into this kind of lackadaisically a little bit. But it's just hiding a lot of stress underneath.
What's funny is when I saw this, my brain immediately went to Why Should I Worry from
Oliver and Company. Fucking slaps.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were about to suggest. And I was going to say,
we'll put that one as an honorary
bonus.
Mixtape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your bonus song of the week. Sam, what about you?
I also chose like a fun one. I chose You Make My Dreams Come True by Daryl Hall and John Oates. That's the one that's
so
like,
good.
Making my dreams come true.
Do you want to know a really fun Hall & Oates fact that I have? They went to my college and lived in the residence hall where I was an RA for 2 years.
What?
For real?
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the oldest residence hall on campus, and it doesn't exist anymore, which makes me very sad. They knocked it down and it's a garden now, but and so my pick is entirely cheesy and on the nose because of the title of the episode. I went with My Wish by Rascal Flatts. But I feel like also it kind of is how in an unconventional way, it's sort of how Sam is feeling about Dean at the end of the episode. Like, my wish for you is that, your life becomes all that you want it to. Like, I feel like Sam is sitting there kind of wishing like that Dean didn't have to be going through the stuff he's going through. So that's my pick for this week.
Damn. Powerful.
Nice.
That one hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to go that direction until I started talking. And then I was like, oh no, this is another
a
meeting.
joke, but it was not a joke. It hurt.
Maybe the joke was the friends we made never mind.
Too real. All right, now that we have got our mixtape playing, it is time for the hunt of the week. Today's episode is Wishful Thinking through the theme of jealousy.
So where do we want to start this jealousy discussion about this episode? It's a little on the nose, I think.
Honestly, I mean, the whole theme is a wishing well, right? So it's sort of like you're jealous of someone else's fortune. You want to make your own.
Yeah. It's like you're sitting here wanting something that you don't have. So in that way, you're kind of like jealous of the things you don't have in your possession. And you're like, oh, well, I can magic it into my possession. Cool.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, exactly. I think all the characters are jealous of something, and that's what they base their wishes on.
Absolutely.
I do love the like recurring of like, what the hell is going on in this town?
Constantly.
Because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, this has to be one of my favorite episodes where like the slow build of the case and just like each thing gets progressively weirder and weirder. And it reminds me a little bit in tone of the episode from season 3, the one with the fairy tales, where it's just like they've got all these disparate sort of things happening that they're like, wait, like, what is this? Like, this is none of these things feel like they're related.
This one in Monster Movie, that one in Monster Movie feels kind of similar because they're, separate, unrelated monster cases that are all the same creature.
That's a really good point.
Kind of very similar.
Supernatural does those kind of episodes really well because I think the fun part, and it kind of like reminds me of this thing that I had like a professor in film school where he told us, like, when we were in a screenwriting class, he's like, when you're in this class, I'm going to teach you the rules of screenwriting, and you're going to sit here and you're going to want to come up with something really cool and original and edgy. And he's like, but you can't do the cool, original, edgy Tarantino stuff until you know how to do the boilerplate stuff. And what's nice about Supernatural is that they've mastered this monster of the week format in a really nice way. And so then they were just like, oh, well, we nailed this. So I guess what are we going to do now? Let's just say fuck all and do these ridiculous episodes that are so meta, they make your head spin. And it's just this beautiful result.
Honestly, they nailed it. This episode was so good.
Mm-hmm. And the teddy bear doctor, I mean, just...
Oh my gosh. Everything to do with the teddy bear is just so ridiculous and so funny.
Oh my God. A giant teddy bear having an existential crisis is
yeah,
the
life
best
is meaningless moment. Signed T-Bear in chalk is just relatable, honestly.
So
I wish it wasn't, but...
And I love how the brothers like interact initially. They're like, first of all, they're like, what the fuck is happening?
Mm-hmm.
What is this? This is so weird. And then them arguing about like what to do and being like, do we kill it?
Do we kill this girl's teddy bear?
Can we kill it?
Yeah. Is it dangerous? What's happening?
And I love like how precocious Audrey is when he's just like, little girl, Audrey. Like, she's just,
Like,
that
damn.
child is a mood.
Okay, ma'am.
And the way that Dean reacts to her is just so, he's like, whoa. Like Dean is just being like read for filth by these children in this episode.
Oh, Dean and all the kids.
Honestly,
That was one of my notes, was like, I just love how Dean interacts with all of the kids in this episode.
Yeah, with great power comes great poof. Just
it's so
knocks
good.
him into trash cans.
Phenomenal reference. I mean, just out of pocket. No worries.
And the fact that he doesn't get to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I also loved, I feel like it's like one of the underrated moments of the episode, is it's when they run over
Yep.
the invisible kid.
Oh my
And you just-
gosh. I forgot about the invisible kid.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you do, like, you forget about it because he's like towards the beginning of the episode, and then you forget about him, and then just like doof, they hit something, and it's like, what was that? And you just hear the kid go, ow.
You just
Yeah.
move on.
And then they move on.
Yeah, never address it.
Yeah.
We have no idea if that kid survived his I mean, I'm sure he did, but it just was so funny.
Yeah, I feel like you see him limp away at the end. He's like, but what a character.
He's so good. I also, this is kind of like not necessarily related to the theme itself, but just something that I wanted us to talk about. I think it's really interesting this episode how Sam seems to have like let go of the life that he used to want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, I just want to kill Lilith, and he's like, he's real creepy about it too. Like he doesn't just say, I want us to destroy Lilith. He's like, I want her head on a plate, bloody. And I'm just like, this is not my baby boy. What is he doing?
Yeah.
Kind of feels like he's putting on a little show almost to be more
Mm.
ferocious and mean.
Do you think that that's like who he's actually becoming, or is it just like his frustration coming out?
I think it's a front.
I don't think it's his actual true heart, like I don't
Mhm.
I think it's who he thinks he wants to be, but it's
Mm.
not who he
Or
is.
who he thinks he has to be.
Yeah.
Well, who he has to be is a really good point, because like that is sort of, I think, who he became when Dean was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so he doesn't think that he gets to have any of his old life, because those months that he had to live without Dean were just so terrible for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't afford to like be in his feelings, so he just had to shut them off,
Yeah.
which is a trend with both of them.
That's an understatement of the century. Well, yeah, and you also with this episode have the whole like Dean admits that I'm curious how, especially Noah, since this was your first watch through, how you felt about like finding out that Dean does remember it, but then doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. So him giving that confirmation to Sam is insanely important, because I mean, obviously we know he remembers because we see flashes on his face and moments of trauma coming up, but he hasn't said anything about it. But coming clean to Sam is a super important first step, and I'd love to see it. Jensen's acting, next level. This man, powerful.
I had a whole conversation with my friend today about Jensen Ackles, because he's finally watching The Boys and was like, oh, so this is the guy you've been simping over for the last decade. And I was like, you get it now?
I feel like that's what everybody did when The Boys came out. They said, oh,
Yeah.
wait, so this guy is attractive.
They're like-
And everyone's like, I
They're
fucking
like, where have
told
you
you.
been where have you been keeping this guy? And I'm like, look, he's been over here doing the Lord's work, falling in love with this dorky little angel guy.
Go check it out.
But yeah, his acting though in that moment, you're right, is just so good, because you can just tell that like he's not going to go any further in his description than he has to, because whatever it is that he saw down there is like ripping him apart.
Yeah.
I didn't think of make this connection until just now, but I feel like in that moment, Dean may have a little bit of jealousy towards Sam, because he's like, you can't understand it. You will never understand it. And so there's this like this small part of him that's feeling jealous that Sam gets to like go about his life not carrying this weight of whatever it is that Dean remembers from down there.
Just whatever down there looks like, maybe,
Mhm.
because it was a different realm from Earth. So now
Yeah.
living in this.
Oh, this has nothing to do with anything, but I also we were talking about Teddy before. The line that always gets me and makes me laugh like inconsolably is the tea parties. Is that all there is? Gets me every time.
Yes.
Oh, good. Kills it.
Don't underestimate a good tea party.
Honestly, there's no substitute.
Now I really need to know if that's tea that you're sipping right now.
It actually is.
Yes. Oh,
It
so on
always
brand.
is.
See, I'm a coffee person.
Mm.
Coffee and cocoa. But that's
No,
great.
I was like, we grew up because my dad was from England. So
Oh,
we
I
grew
don't
up
think I
in
knew
very
that about
British-
y'all.
Yeah, he grew up there.
That's really
So
cool.
we actually never had coffee in our house. I'm pretty sure I didn't even try coffee until I was like in my later teens because it was just always tea.
Yeah. Fair.
That was the beverage.
Fair.
That's marvelous.
Fair. One other thing I thought of when we were talking about how Dean might feel a little jealous about Sam being able to lead a life without having been to hell. It felt kind of reminiscent of how Sam was talking about Dean would never understand what it felt like to have demon blood in him. So
Oh, yeah.
now it's just another step, another division between the brothers. Something that they haven't experienced, but the other has.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's like really prevalent throughout this season is like them for the first time you're seeing like a real wedge kind of being driven between the two of them. And I think that's one of the it's a strength of season 4, but it's also what makes me like so miserable watching it because I'm like, I don't want them to be mad at each other.
Yeah. They're babies. They need to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hurts, but terrifically acted.
Yeah. On all fronts.
Alrighty, next we're going to slide into our Going Meta section, where we are tracking lore, representation, behind the scenes trivia, and more. First off, we're going to start with our representation check. We talk about relationship dynamics, gender, Bechdel, anything that we can think of. How did you guys feel represented in this episode? Okay, that didn't feel like a great one. How about
How
it,
were
guys?
the ladies in this episode?
No. Rep check. What you got?
Well, we don't pass the Bechdel as per usual.
As per usual.
But I think Audrey should pass the Bechdel test just for sheer chutzpah alone.
Girl boss
I
power.
love her.
Yeah, really.
She really gatekeep girl bosses. And what's the other
Gaslight.
one? Gaslight, gatekeep girl boss.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Audrey. That's who Audrey grows up to be.
Yeah.
Total girl boss energy.
Oh my God. They should have done like she comes back as like a teenager, a young adult. That would have been
marvelous.
Missed potential.
I'm gonna add that to my bingo card for the Winchesters, that Audrey somehow time travels and sasses John Winchester.
Oh, yes.
Somehow she goes back to the past and is even older than she ever was in the show.
Mhm.
Okay,
We'll
Elayna.
make it make
I think
sense.
you're asking for a lot. Oh, no. It's the CW. It's totally possible.
It's the CW. Listen, the things I've heard about Riverdale, I am.
Oh my God.
I've never seen Riverdale, but I've heard horror stories. One of the representation checks. This is kind of a goofy one, but I love that Dean points out that the teddy bear is drinking amaretto and Irish cream, and that makes them a girl drink drunk. Like, Dean, why do you know that?
Why are you shaming that? It's the best way to get drunk.
Yeah, like
I didn't catch that. That's funny.
yeah. That's what he says about the bear.
Whenever they're in the liquor store.
Yeah. And the Deep Woods Duchovny line is also excellent.
Yeah.
The deeper we get into the show, the more I'm like, how has any person ever watched this show and perceived Dean Winchester as a straight individual?
Every episode.
It boggles the mind.
Yeah.
It's further and further down. He's digging himself into the bisexual category. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Love that journey for him.
Yeah. And it's only season 4.
Only 11 more to go.
So much more road to journey down.
Yes.
Excellent.
We did have terrible representation from the wish that the first guy makes with.
Oh God, yeah, that was really gross.
Yeah. And that was unpleasant to watch in many different ways.
Yeah.
It was also not great how much pressure Dean put on how weird it was. It's a lot of toxic masculinity that we didn't need to see either. But
yeah, could have done without it.
It was just a lot.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know why I didn't think to put that in the show notes, but that's a huge element of this episode.
Yeah, some of that John Winchester coming out, but it did draw his attention to key details he needed for the case. So like, there's pluses and minuses, I guess. It sucks.
I love the moment when Sam's like, "Oh, magic coin." He says it like it could have been anything else, even after they were like unable to pick it up. Like, oh, sweet summer Sammy. So get this, I was looking into the lore, and Sam, our resident lore person, found some really good moments that I would love for you to mention.
Yeah, in this episode, everyone lives. There are
That's
no.
so rare.
I know. There are no casualties.
There's only 5 episodes or something.
Yeah, it's a very limited number, and this is one of them.
Yeah, the only thing that does happen is Sam is struck by lightning.
6.
And is unconscious, dead. We're not sure.
That's the thing. Like, it's so there's no permanent deaths this episode.
No.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you killed a man, but then the second, he pulls the coin out, Sam comes back, which that has got to be one powerful fucking coin if it can kill people and bring them back to life when it cancels out a wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, very powerful.
Also, so they count the canon counts Sam's death as an actual death in the episode. So it technically it's like, but at the end, everybody lives.
In the end, everybody lives.
It's an episode with a death in it, but everybody lives at the end. So
yeah, I feel like when the brothers die, it doesn't even count.
Because it's always
that's
temporary.
Valid.
It happens a lot.
This is also one of very few episodes without a monster or a bad guy, a villain, an antagonist. Because even Wes is a victim of the spell. He gets his own.
He doesn't really get what he wants either.
No, and probably didn't even fully realize what he was doing when he first initially tossed it into the well.
He definitely did not have the consequences lined out.
No, like there's no monster with like a malicious intent. It's just everybody.
It's just a spell. It's like a curse, but not necessarily a villain.
People being selfish.
Because there's no often when there's curses, it's someone has cast it, but there's not really a person behind.
I think they said it was ancient Babylonian god or goddess of chaos. And I think it was Tiamat or Tiamat. I remember when they said Tiamat, I was like, oh, is that like Tiamat from Eternals? But no, they are similar, but not the same. I did also, with you talking about like how Wes was the one who was like causing it. That just reminds me of the one line that I also really loved is like when he says, why can't we get what we want? And then Sam's just like, because that's life, Wes. Brutal, but honest.
You got to deal with the cards you're dealt. It's a little harsh, but some necessary medicine at some point.
Yeah.
One other thing I had for lore is yet again, they mention everybody knows Bigfoot's a hoax when they're talking about hunting creatures. And I can't help but point out that's another, they've said that verbatim. I want to say this season or last season.
Yeah.
So they're building up to an episode where they say everybody knows Bigfoot's a hoax and then boom, Bigfoot.
I love that theory.
Yes.
Bigfoot and backflips. They're coming.
Yeah. Backflips are my favorite theory of yours, honestly.
It's been 4 seasons.
Oh, so this is a kind of like depressing and terrifying behind the scenes factoid, but I feel compelled to mention it because it's one of those things where you're like, that can't be real, and it like actually is. So the kid that plays Todd, the kneel before Todd kid, I think it was within the last like year or two, he went to prison because he murdered his mother.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quarantine
that was
does crazy shit to people, huh?
And I was just like, oh no.
Okay, Todd.
That didn't age well at all.
No.
Dean tried to warn him. Great power.
Yeah. When I saw that news piece, I was like, because it was like the article was like, supernatural actor, arrested for murder. And I was like, wait, what? Like lost my entire mind. And then
of course they've got pictures of Jared and Jensen on the top, so you click
so I was just like, Jensen, Jared, what have you done? And not that it's good that anybody would kill their mother, but just like they tried to make it seem like it was some main actor, but it was just this person who had been in and he's in it one other time, I think.
Yeah,
if memory serves, he comes back. The actor comes back. Let me see what his name was. Todd Supernatural. Yeah, Todd Supernatural Jail. Gets life in prison for killing his mother.
Fuck.
Yeah, former child actor. So I know that's a little depressing, but I just talk about behind the scenes factoids.
Yikes.
Okay. Well, on that note, it feels like a great time to move into our final and favorite part of the episode, our character blessings. Take a little second to grab a character out of the episode and appreciate something they did and call them out for it. Elayna, did you want to go first?
I did. And I just want to bless that poor innocent teddy bear who didn't ask to be on this planet. He didn't ask to go to tea parties and to have to experience the world and capitalism and, war. He just wanted to be fuzzy and have a meaningful life. And I hope that when he transitions back into being just a small teddy bear, that he doesn't have to carry that emotional trauma with him. And he goes back to being a non-sentient being who doesn't have to feel existential crises.
Damn.
Blessing for Teddy.
Blessings for Teddy.
What about you, Noah?
My blessing's going to have to be for Audrey because she handles the most this episode and does it with such grace and aplomb. Gotta call her out for it. She is also being given a lot of information and a lot of forethought from this teddy bear and has to handle that. And he's saying some dark shit. And she just has to move on and grow up. And I'm gonna just send some blessings her way. She needs them.
This feels like it might be the first time that no one has blessed Sam or Dean.
Hey, here we go. Deal with it. Deal with it, boys.
All right, so that is all for today. Make sure you are subscribed to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to your podcast and to share our show with your friends.
Also, just last week, our very own Elayna Darcy's fantastic new book came out in stores everywhere. Oh my God, it's crazy. Yay. It's been out for about a week now, depending on when you listen to this, but it's poetry meets intergalactic queer self-discovery with a heavy sprinkle of saving the world. Go check it out. You can find it online. We'll have links to that in the show notes and on our website. Speaking of, you can find links to our social media and join our Discord server through that website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
And if you are all caught up on Supernatural and you want to go back to the beginning with us, Abigail and I, as well as our friends Beth and KJ, are watching our way through the Winchesters on the CW currently. So if you want to catch that podcast, you can find us over on Twitter, where we are at Wayward Parents. And be sure to ride along with us next week as we discover episode 9, I Know What You Did Last Summer, through the theme of grace.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.